September 1st, 1981, 3:15 in the afternoon. A war was resolved for Alberta.
Things got back to normal. Edmonton celebrated by flying a plane into a local hospital.
While in Calgary, the cranes kept on flying, prompting Alan Fotheringham to observe that Calgary would one day be a great city if they could just get it out of the crates. Undaunted, the Calgary Philharmonic made an entertaining debut on the CBC network and didn't play the unfinished symphony.
And the Edmonton Eskimos became the Alberta Eskimos as they made it 4 in a row at the Grey Cup. These Alberta highlights share in common some old-fashioned Western virtues. Imagination, hard work, persistence. 3 qualities never more evident than at Baden-Baden, Germany.
Le Comité international olympique réuni en séance plénière à Baden-Baden a décidé que l'honneur de célébrer les Jeux olympiques d'hiver de 1988 reviendra à la ville de Calgary.
They cheered in Baden-Baden. They hugged and shouted in Flair Square. And up in Edmonton, the Olympics became an Alberta victory, to be celebrated with the capital city's usual reserve. Alec, did they really turn on the waterfall?
Indeed they did, Terry. We remember the excitement of the Commonwealth Games.
Good day, gentlemen. I'm Terry Gleekoff for CBC Calgary. And with Alec Moyer here in Edmonton, we're set to take you on an all-too-brief tour of our program schedules.
Throughout North America, Europe, and Asia, Calgary is a name synonymous with energy. But the old cow town is much more than that. And CBC Calgary reflects and interprets the total picture. With Calgary's program story, then, here's Terry Gleekoff.
Welcome to Calgary, part of the Great Alberta Experience, an experience that lives at CBC 9. We're a young station, on the air for just a few years. Our staff is young, our city is young.
In Calgary, CBC 9, Cable 6.
Our production facilities are in constant use. 4 weekly programs, 3 daily programs, plus regional and network contributions. From Major League Sports to award-winning news, CBC 9 delivers.
The CBC Evening News with Bob Chelmick, Robert Scott, and your host, Terry Gleekoff.
Good evening. Here are some of the stories you'll see in our news hour tonight. A decision is close on a huge project in northern Alberta. A daycare center is in trouble with its neighbors in southeast Calgary, and you can dial your troubles away below the border. And in our weather, Bob Chelmick says, more clouds, more cold. We should know within a month if a 3rd plant will be built to extract oil from the tar sands of northern Alberta. The 8 companies behind the $13 billion project met in Calgary today to see if the final financial offer from government makes it worthwhile.
Let's look at the coast, first of all. They're under the influence of some warm air because of a low-pressure system that's sitting around the Queen Charlotte Islands now.
After months of negotiations and some bitter feuding, Toronto sent Sittler to Philadelphia for an 18-year-old U.S. college player, Rich Costello, and a second-round draft choice.
Calgary's prominence in business has been increasing dramatically over the past years, and the Canadian establishment is taking notice. CBC 9's Business Watch is a high-energy, information-packed half-hour that helps to close that gap between the boardroom and the public. Business Watch is network material.
Business Watch with your host, Bill Kerchak.
Good evening and welcome. And you'll pay your tax after you sell the investment.
The latest budget, what did that do to prevent me from taking advantages that I had in the stock market before?
Well, up to 1982, You could have bought an income averaging annuity contract and spread the gain out over 15 years, a nice way to defer your tax.
And we have one letter from George Fettis who says, it is his understanding, I'm going to paraphrase this, that certain brokerage firms have schemes whereby a small investor can open an account, much like a bank account, starting with small sums like $20, and they receive interest on their deposits. Is this fact or fiction?
I would say in Canada that's pretty well fiction.
Under pressure from a business coalition, an unprecedented business coalition, and through the good offices of a number of MPs from the various political parties, there were some concessions to sanity. Like the title says, Alberta Probe looks into the stories that make news in Calgary. It looks harder, it looks deeper. It gives our viewers the background on local controversies.
It was at this Edmonton restaurant that the 34-year-old Kushner, along with fellow members of the Conservative caucus, had a party near the end of the spring session of the legislature. Kushner admitted that during the party he had 6 glasses of scotch and 2 glasses of wine before getting into his car at around 2 a.m. to head for home. He made it as far as the McDougall Hill at 100th Street. It was along here that his car sideswiped another car coming up the hill. Kushner didn't stop.
CBC 9 was pleased to offer all O&O stations Merry Christmas from Olympic City. As our first stereo simulcast, this show was a musical celebration of the Christmas season and a salute to our city as host of the 1988 Winter Olympics. And like all specials produced by CBC 9, this show called on all our people and resources, featured local musicians, and was designed to add to our high profile in the community. Each day at 12 noon, this set comes to life with Hotline, an unusual program that puts our viewers directly in touch with people in the news. Taking the phone-in concept from radio and adding the power of pictures, Hotline has established itself as interesting and accessible television.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Hotline, CBC 9's program that invites you to ask the questions.
Or you can call the principal of the Oakley Center, Beryl Woodward.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, and thank you very much for your call. We're going to switch over to our studio audience again, and a question from a gentleman up there.
Yes, I'd like to comment that I feel this board, or a majority of it, is very much in a conflict of interest position in their support of the Logos cult here in the city. And they have managed to neglect the core and the majority of the schools in concentrating on alternative religious schools.
As you know, more people are moving to Calgary than any other city in this country. This is Calgary takes a light-hearted look at this phenomenon, explaining the city of Calgary to newcomers and exploring their experiences in Boomtown.
Well, in Calgary, gas expands faster than at sea level because there is less atmospheric pressure. Now, what that means is, here, bread tends to rise more quickly before it goes into the oven, and it tends to flop more often when it's taken from the oven. You could lose both coming and going.
And then 19 years later, a steel span was built, and it was called the Louise Bridge. Now, it's the one that for a while spanned the Ghost River on Highway 1A west of town. It shows you the bridges can move about.
People getting to know one another. That was one of the main reasons for the singles conference. That's also why a lot of these people came. They knew they could openly meet other singles without having to crash through some of those awkward social barriers usually there when meeting people in other places. And for a lot of newcomers to Calgary, this was a better place to meet other people than in the concrete jungle.
What you've seen is just a sample of the programs we do here at CBC 9. But since we have your attention, here's a list of a few things we'd really like. Another ENG suite, another studio, Well, maybe this isn't the time or place. So let's go back to Edmonton and Newsday's anchorman, Alec Moyer.
For broadcasters, there are few more exciting places to be today than here in Edmonton, Alberta's on-again oil capital city. And for CBC Edmonton News, there is no more demanding challenge than to report and reflect on Edmonton, northern Alberta, and its many diverse points of view. But solid news reporting is more than near disasters like the Royal Alexandra Hospital crash, and it's more than a successive lineup of 90-second bites of information. News, too, must test the social fabric of the region it serves.
When 3 people were stabbed to death on Edmonton's Skid Row, Newsday reporter Doug Harrison went to the streets and for a week, with $5 in his pocket, lived the role of the down and out.
In this building, next door to the hostel, I learned of one person who was beaten badly here overnight because someone wanted his boots. I learned that every winter, 5 or 6 people are found frozen to death here on the drag. You don't hear about those deaths on the news. Quite often, no one knows who they are, and nobody really cares.
Close community contact is an ongoing objective for Newsday. We're taking the results of our telephone opinion polls a step further these days to those who have power or office to make change. Each week, over 400 city and area schools participate in a classroom discussion project we call the Newsday Question Pack. Students respond to questions developed and prepared by Newsday to gain a greater understanding of the news events and stories of the week as presented on Newsday. This season, Newsday has added bi-weekly financial reports, features on entertainment and the arts, increased reporting of Alberta agriculture, and longer, more developed features using our senior reporters. And we still have the best sports reporting team in town. In total, Newsday is a better service than ever before, but so too is our competition. We're outnumbered 5 to 1 in ENG equipment. And with the summer problems for a lead-in, we're happy to be holding our own with our metro area audience. With the coming of the Journal, News Final has expanded its news gathering day. As well as sports and weather, we've added a nightly report on Edmonton's arts and entertainment scene. Bracketing the day is midday news and weather. This season, expanded to a full 10-minute service, the first major television newscast of the day. It used to be called the Ladies' Show. That concept is as long gone as the arts and crafts demonstration. Midday, with Joe Green and Larry Langley, probes the changing needs of a sophisticated, complex, and demanding audience looking for information that is community relevant and a little fun. Tommy Banks is live for an hour every Wednesday evening. When the red light goes on, anything can happen, and it generally does. But here, too, amidst the music and comedy, there exists a strong and serious community concern and involvement.
I just hope that Canadians and Albertans will just start talking to each other as friends again.
And the shrinking Canadian dollar is even a preoccupation in Alberta. Help Yourself, for a second season, looks for ideas and solutions to help people do more with what they already have. And the response is an ongoing flood of mail for Sue Bard and John Hanlon, and strong early ratings that say it's a program concept right for the times. Some call it the CBC House Dinosaur. Nobody loves it but the folks. Reach for the Top, in its 21st year, still maintains a strong ratings position and its tradition of showing all its best in our young people.
Regular programs, daily, weekly. But to broaden our scope and further serve our audiences, CBC Edmonton regularly produces programs that give an added dimension to the word special, and none more so than Catalyst Theatre.
A unique social documentary drama concept where live audiences react to dramatic vignettes. The latest program deals with suicide, and it's powerful stuff.
Well, I think that bottle was half full this morning.
Oh, my God. I'm getting our coats. We're going to the hospital.
What's going on here? Janet, how many aspirin did you take?
I don't know.
Well, 5, 10?
I don't know.
For God's sake, Janet,
I
think.
don't know. Come on, honey.
Oh, just a minute now. Don't panic. We can call a doctor.
A half a bottle of aspirin.
Well, which hospital are you taking her to?
I'll call you.
2 years ago, the World Television Symposium Input 80 in Washington, D.C., cited Catalyst Theater for its human and innovative television treatment of community social problems. Heady praise from international broadcasters who obviously do not program the CBC television network. And so, Catalyst is again available on regional exchange.
There's one person that I ran into that he gets you to stand at the end of his bed with a bag of oranges, right? And he lies on the bed and masturbates. Is that all right to be said? Mm-hmm. All right. And when he's about to achieve his orgasm or climax, whatever you want to call it, you hit him with the oranges.
The gentleman with the oranges is one of the denizens of Edmonton's gay community, the subject of a sometimes startling documentary and one of a series of information and news specials this season. Among other specials, the story of the famed Edmonton Cardiac Institute. When Newsday's agricultural reporter Noel McNaughton returned from Israel, Alberta farmers and consumers shared ideas and techniques on doing more with less on the special Israel, the Tiny Giant. Co-production dollars generated by Parks Canada helped Edmonton produce Elk Island, A Place Apart. Exceptional photography amidst the special beauty of a western autumn. Maybe it's stretching a point, but don't test an Albertan by asking him what is the single most important resource in the province.
He's got it to Gretzky. He's got the open net. Gretzky, will he shoot? He does. He scores! He has broken the record. Gretzky has done the unbelievable. His 50th goal in 39 games.
If it's winter and Wayne Gretzky is in full flight, oil and gas rights, heritage trust funds, or provincial elections all take second place to a young man for whom new adjectives are needed. In The Kid Next Door, John Wells records firsthand the Gretzky phenomenon, which is just as strong off ice as on ice. 14 years ago, an unknown young Alberta politician was already using the media to create his image. He learned well those early lessons, and a new special, Lougheed and the Media, now in production, will attempt to capture the carefully staged media manipulation of this most secretive of the provincial premiers, who, by coincidence, is getting ready for another election. Edmonton's already strained facilities also produce, on average, 5.5 hours of local French programming per week. Good programming for local and network audiences with considerable production values. And we're still the most prolific commercial production operation in the CBC chain. This arts promo is one of a series co-produced with the Alberta Foundation for the Performing Arts.
Add something to your life. The arts are for everyone.
CBC Edmonton, the team behind the camera.
Going back wide, 2.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're up.
Live from the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, Hockey Night in Canada on CBC.
While those are the essential highlights of today's local program schedule, there is more.
Ready, 1.
Our ongoing involvements with Hockey Night in Canada, CFL football, weekend sports, meeting place. And we've organized and introduced a weekend sports syndication service to 6 O&Os. Crisp editing of weekend sports highlights, prepared by Edmonton Sports and shared at a best buy value of $25 per station per weekend.
CBC Television. Special people, a special place.
Well, like a lot of our sister stations, our facilities are straining, and our equipment, well, our equipment is on its last legs. We smile and say, sir, to our maintenance geniuses, most of whom are younger than the technical gear they're working on. But whether jammed, strained, or plain broken, we are still delivering a very full program service to Edmonton and Northern Alberta. We like to feel that our spirit and our enthusiasm are still very obvious where it counts most.
In recent years, the eyes of the world have been increasingly fixed on Alberta. We're called the energy province, but we're much more than oil wells, tar sands, gas, and coal. Our Alberta energy stems from a brash enthusiasm and an entrepreneurial spirit that gives substance and action to imaginative dreams and aspirations.
That energy translates into cultural complexes for the performing arts in Lethbridge and Calgary, medical research facilities in Edmonton, second to none, tar sands mega projects, the shift of financial decision-making, and new ocean port grain handling facilities. Edmonton hosts the World Student Games in 16 months. Calgary hosts the '88 Winter Olympics in 72 months.
It used to be that Calgary and Edmonton sparked an intense inner-city rivalry. Well, the rivalry is all but gone. Both our cities have outgrown those days. We're more used to taking on the world than each other.
We say it again, there is no more exciting place to be than right here in Alberta. And our common purpose is to reflect and interpret those dynamics in all forms to both regional and national audiences. For Terry Gleekoff, I'm Alec Moyer.
And good day from Alberta.